We drop gems for the More About Something podcast. Instead of saying more about nothing, we have something to talk about. We have a voice that we want to forecast. So all these topics, we have a rundown of topics. Basically, it's everything that you can think about. And we have our guest host here, Regina Watson. Yes. So, again, I am J. Terry or Tashi, whichever you prefer to call me. I am the owner of Perfectly Brown. I have 2 children's books, Perfectly Brown and Just Justice. Work full-time, business owner and full-time employee. Trying to change that. But it's cool, you know, the law degree, the business degree, and you just kind of mold it all together to make one thing. This is Regina Watson. Would you like to introduce yourself now?
I don't know what I should say to introduce myself.
You know, you can start off with, I just introduce your name. So just let the people know what you want them to know about you.
Well, my name is Regina Watson. Yes. I am a divorced mother of 2 adult children. One is 25, one is 29. Yes, look at it.
I look good.
Black doing his thing, you know, black doing his thing. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm a free spirit. I'm a
She's
thinker.
a comedian.
In my mind, I'm a stand-up comedian.
She's hilarious, y'all. She's had me crying laughing.
I have all kinds of stuff. It's really because I'm crazy, but you know, it gets me through the day.
Neva?
Hi everyone. Y'all saw me on the previous live. I'm Neva. I'm the founder of My Path to Peace. And my sister here, she invited me to be a co-host on this podcast. I'm a speaker, I'm a life coach, and I'm a published author. Y'all can go to my website, www.mypathtopeace.com, if you want to learn more about me after the podcast. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to drop some gems, and hopefully we impact your life in some way.
All right, cool. So that was the introduction. So today, Neva, she has our positive affirmation for today, just to make sure you're ending your day on a positive note, a good note. If you had a long day, this is something that'll help you through the day.
So today the world got the news that the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, has made her transition to the other side. And what I gotta say is not much of an affirmation, but it's just more so of I guess something to kind of see this situation in light. But death is not the end. I know it's devastating when you hear about somebody passing, or especially if they were close to you or they had an impact on your life in some way. But death is not the end. That person's energy, well, your body obviously deteriorates, but your energy never dies. So just keep that in mind as you hear about people's passing, regardless if it's a celebrity or somebody who is close to you. Just remember that energy never dies. So keep that in mind as you go down your timeline and you see different posts about need a name tag. Just keep that in mind as you see these different posts about Aretha Franklin and other people that may have transitioned. Death is not the end.
How they gonna know when QE in the middle is? I ain't got a name tag.
Her name is Regina, guys.
Regina Watson.
Once again.
That may or may not be my real name.
That's an alias. Okay, so today's topic, of course, is about the church, the Bible, pastors, and the impact on the Black community. But before we get to that, we want to talk about our word of the day. Our word of the day is enthrall. And enthrall means to captivate, to charm, or it could mean to put or hold in slavery. We don't do slavery around here, so we trying to be charismatic and we gonna be captive. And
saying you're not gonna choose slavery.
No, I didn't choose slavery at all.
We're not choosing it today.
I didn't choose that, you know.
Okay.
My grandma didn't ask to be put on that ship.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You know.
I was just making sure we wasn't choosing it today because
I didn't choose that today.
The goal is to try to use the word of the day at least once during the podcast.
So
also.
we hope you guys are enthralled by the podcast, and if you have any comments, if you have any comments or questions, just let us know. All right, so to start, this topic stems from basically the black pastor is going to meet with Donald Trump, and we felt some type of way about it. Honestly, for a while you have seen, I want to say, a decrease in the number of millennials, or us period, going to church. Some people may agree, some people may disagree. It's just, we're not here to bash anybody. We're here to shed light on different experiences that we all have had. So we're going to start. My experience here in Charlotte has been with larger churches, and I feel with larger churches, you don't always have the opportunity to have that connection. So I say that as well, because if y'all have to go through 5 people to feel like I need to be prayed for without having a connection with the pastor, to me that's a problem, especially if I'm coming from a smaller church and I had that connection with the pastor. Yeah, that's going to make a big difference. And then I go back to saying, okay, well, let's talk about how they impact our communities. A lot of times you'll have politicians trying to use that population for votes. And we have to think outside of that and think for ourselves. We can't just let the pastor or the congregation think for us. We also have to have a mind outside of that. And I feel like a lot of the times churches and pastors, they don't go back into the community. Like, even being a child, you'll realize certain stuff, like you're not blind. Like, we had a pastor in Halifax, people giving tithes and offering. This man pulled up in a new Cadillac, and I'm like, there's people out here struggling and they hungry, but you just bought a new Cadillac. Maybe somebody didn't have that money to give you. Right. Or even watching with a grandparent being sick and people asking for tithes and offering from a person that's sick, like, that puts a bad taste in your mouth. For
Or
people
being told if they are sick and they come to the church to ask for help, being turned away because they didn't tithe enough, or
right,
because they haven't been there in a while.
That's not God-like. So it's just like, that puts a bad taste in people's mouth, and that draws people away from the church. And personally, with my own personal experience, I feel like it should be more about spirituality, how you have your connection with God, or the higher power, or whatever you see forth, that knowing that you didn't create yourself. So ladies, Regina, what's your opinion?
Well, okay, so on the church thing, understanding the purpose of church goes back beyond all about regulation.
Right.
So when you think about, you have a group of colonizers that came to this country searching for religious freedom. But part of their acquisition of this land and everybody in it was to use religion.
Right.
That was the one thing that they can make everybody bow to. And that was their way of not only making you bow to this God, but making you bow to them by making their God in their image. So it became synonymous with, this is who God is. Black people were real quick to say, oh, well, Jesus wasn't black because the Bible says that he had hair like wool and feet like brass. Yeah, but when you see that image of white Jesus, you know who it is.
Right.
You still have an emotional connection with that image when you see it. It's an icon. So it becomes an icon, just like if you go into Greek Orthodox Church, or if you go into the Hebrew church, or you go into a Hindu temple, they're going to have icons. There's going to be pictures of who they worship. So you basically worship the messenger, and the messenger becomes who gave you the message. So I don't go to church. I've had very open conversations. I'm part of Black Atheist community. It's a lot bigger than people think. People think that, everybody thinks like they do, and every black person is saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. But I'm here to tell you that is not the case. There are tons of places online and locally. I mean, just in Charlotte, we're in Charlotte. There's a Black Non-Believers of Charlotte. We get together, do service projects. I don't see a lot of churches out there when we're out there feeding homeless on Statesboro Road, but we're there. So your actions make you a good person, not your beliefs. So that's the perspective I come from. And as far as, you know, people making an icon of Jesus, who, by the way, never preached Christianity, because Christianity did not exist. So what he taught was beyond that. So if you choose to accept that and claim that as your faith, you need to know something about it. And understanding Jesus did not preach Christianity. So all these diehard Christians that, oh, I won't date somebody that's not a Christian, or I can't be friends with somebody that's not a Christian. Well, the man you worship wasn't a Christian. I mean, that's just a fact. It wasn't created till later on. Then you got to ask yourself, what was the motivation of that person saying, okay, well, I'm going to make this religion after this person that I've never met. Never met anybody that even knew him, but I heard stories. It sounds good. Let me pull from other sources and make this man into my image so you'll worship me. So that's just my opinion. But the image of who Christ is, Gandhi said, I love your Christ, but not your Christians.
Now, go ahead, sis.
No, I was just saying, I never knew that he said that. I never knew that he said that.
Now, when you say...
He said they're not like, he said, I love your Christ, but not your Christians. They're so unlike, so unlike your Christ.
Deep.
Now, when you say non-believers, can you explain what you mean by non-believers?
Well, when I say non-believers, just being in a community for the length of time that I had been, a lot of people don't like the word atheist because they're like, what you're saying, you don't call Christians theists. Yeah. So an atheist just means somebody who's, you know, not doesn't follow a deity or any deity, whether it's Muslim or whatever. So when you label somebody, you should not be labeled in the negative. So if you have nothing, you have nothing, but you gave it a name and then you demonized it. So now that you have this name that you can contribute these attributes to that are anti your beliefs. So there are people who don't like to be defined by a word that somebody else came up with to be the villain to what they believe. So some people don't like that. Some people in that community are agnostic. So they don't want to be identified as, they believe that there's something bigger, they just don't know what it is.
Right.
So they don't, you know, so that just gives everybody an opportunity to be included by saying they're non-believers rather than saying they're atheists or they're agnostic. Right. Some people just don't know.
Just don't have like that type of title that's attached to negativity.
Some people just feel some type of way. They don't feel like they should be the champion of not believing. Like, if I don't believe something, I don't believe in unicorns. Is there a name for that? Like, no, I mean, you just don't. So
I think the society does it. Like, we like to put a label on everything too, so that kind of complicates things
because it keeps us from having to open it up and figure out what it is.
Right. And that's just, even with that, that's just like racist people. They don't like you to call out racist when it is, because they don't want that label, but they'll label everything else we do. So it's kind of just like that.
And they operate, they move in that circle. They condition us to want that. And I've always had an issue with people labeling, especially with children. Like, I hate that shit in school. You label a kid, okay, well, this kid has a behavioral problem, or this kid has, you know, attention deficit syndrome, or this kid and
ADHD,
or even on the other end. Like, my son had a teacher who was determined to make him into a future criminal of America. Like, oh my God, everything is wrong with him. I got phone calls every day for the dumbest shit. And it took some random teacher, pull me aside in the hallway and was like, hey, you mind if I recommend your son to be tested for the gifted program?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because I need to get him away from this.
And out of that.
So he got in the gifted program. So he benefited from a label. But then what pissed me off about that is he was the same fucking kid before that label. So until you gave him a label, until you decided that he was worthy, then he was nothing. But he had to jump through hoops to get and prance around with a fucking ball on his head for you to be able to say, oh, okay, well, he's worth something. But he was worth something before.
Absolutely.
Let's address some of these comments.
Okay.
Who's a cutie in the middle between the other cuties?
Shakita said, yes, I agree to what you're saying. It's very true because one of my mom's friends is struggling financially and she's worried about not doing tithing. And I feel like she should be able to ask the church for assistance from the same church she helps when she's not able to.
Absolutely.
And my experience with, and this is what kind of strayed me away from church. And again, I told y'all on our last live that I'm going to be transparent. No shame in none of my experiences or my story. But I remember being younger and my mom was a single mom, raising 2 kids on her own. And we had stopped going to church for a little minute because my mom was working all the time. So it's not that we didn't want to go to church or she didn't want to go. She just didn't have time to. And I remember things got so bad that we got behind on our mortgage. And my mom went to her pastor of the church that she was a member of. Now, mind you, she hadn't been in maybe like 2 years. But she reached out to the pastor. He did help her with our mortgage payment or whatever. But y'all, tell me why the following Sunday he preached about, and maybe I just felt guilty about it or whatever, but he preached about people not coming to church and then wanting to ask for help. Would you need a pen? Mm-hmm. He preached about people not wanting to come to church and then asking for help. And I felt like it was shots fired. I was like, wait a minute, is he talking about my mom? So then that happened. And then the second thing that totally like put a bad taste in my mouth as far as church goes is my fiance and I, we were attending a mega church in Greenville. I'm not gonna say the name of it, but we were attending a mega church, and I remember the pastor saying something to the extent of, oh, y'all worried about light bill money. If you tithe the money that you holding on to so tightly for these bills, you tithe that money, I promise you God is gonna bless you 10 times over. Now that may be true. I mean, you know, whatever. I don't know how that thing works, but I don't know how that works, but you really gonna tell people to put their light bill money in the tithing offer, like
when they need it,
right? Like the whole tithing thing never really made sense to me. I'm somewhere in the middle with the whole, like, I'm definitely not religious. I do feel like there's something that's like, it's all this stuff is not by coincidence. Like this stuff just didn't happen.
Oh, I'm just listening.
But all of this stuff is not like just by, like, who made this? Why are we here? Are we progressing towards something? Or are we, like, what are we doing? So I'm somewhere in the middle right now. I'm still kind of learning a lot more. What do you say? Atheist is a big difference from Satanist.
Yeah, it is.
Uneducated, no disrespect, but simply aware, immediately wish to tag it, label things incorrectly. Right. So, see, I don't know nothing about that. Like, what is the Satanist?
Don't read it to yourself.
What is the Satanist though? Like,
no, because, and I get what
I guess devil worshippers.
Yeah, I get, because that's what people think. People just have it confused because they think, okay, if you don't worship God, you worship the devil.
Oh yeah,
those two things don't go. That's just like the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. The opposite of believing something is not. I don't hate unicorns. I don't believe in them. Like, I'm not on a mission against unicorns. Like, I'm not going out, spreading the word. I mean, it's
unicorns are free.
So where do y'all think like all of this come? Do y'all think it's like, because I don't know how you were raised, Regina. I'm not sure how you was raised either, but for me, it was like, you going to church, like, get your ass, like, it was never why though, but why? Why am I going to church? What am I learning from this church?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I ain't learned nothing.
So you did learn something, and you learned. You learned exactly what church was intended for. You learned to conform. You learned to blindly trust. You learned what to think and not how to think.
I agree.
That's the mission of churches, of organized, institutionalized education. It's not, because I hear people talk all the time and say, well, they don't teach nothing in school. They don't teach kids how to do this. They don't teach kids how to do that.
Teach you how to be in jail.
They teach you what they want you to know. And what they want you to know is that you are a part of a society, and what your place is in society, what is expected of you, what you are supposed to think. If you think about how they started labeling kids, when they label kids as bad, Why they bad? I hear parents talk about, oh, my kids stay in trouble. I'm gonna beat their ass when they get home. What they do? Oh, they was talking. So they bad because they fucking talking?
Right.
Like, why do I have a mouth?
Like they bad because they talking? No, they not bad because they talking. They not out of control because they talking. They don't have ADHD because they talking.
They bored.
They kids.
And they kids.
Fucking kids. Who wants to sit in the room? I don't want to sit there. I cut
With
up
the same person.
Right.
Like they in this classroom with other kids their age, they're outnumbering adults. What you think they gonna do?
Talk.
Shakita said she learned that church folk are judgmental. Ooh, child.
Absolutely.
Ooh, child.
Those are the most judgmental people.
Girl.
Because that, again, it makes total sense. So it doesn't make sense when you question it, but when you think about them being the most judgmental, they are in an organization, in a climate that teaches them that you are right and everybody else is wrong.
And then you're
That
taught
we
not
are
to
right,
question that.
everybody else is wrong. If you are a Christian, you are right. Even if you fucked up, you right because you can get right and everybody else is wrong. So if you are in a climate, in an environment that is constantly telling you every time you see them that you're wrong or that everybody else is wrong, what you doing?
Go ahead.
Oh, then of course you're going to be judgmental. Because that's how, I mean, you can't feel superior without making sure that everybody else is beneath you. So of course you're gonna, that's what it's designed for. It's about conforming. That's why politicians go to pastors. When they want to get to black people, they go to what I see as modern day slave masters. Or modern day
Mind control, like Debo and
right, like the gun line. They go to the gun line. Don't cross this
Not like
line.
Debo. I got my control over Debo.
So I mean, that's what it is. They go to the black churches because they set up something. And this is a question that I ask people to think about. First of all, I don't ask anybody to think like me. I don't have all the answers. I don't have none of the answers. I'm just going through this shit like everybody else.
Right.
But I do ask you to
Fair.
think. So even if you don't agree with me, I'm cool with that. You don't have to agree with me. But you will walk away with an opinion of your own based off of understanding that there's another point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing with the whole
John Gray.
the what?
John Gray going
John
to meet
Gray.
with Trump.
Okay. So these pastors that are okay. Let me just go back to this to make this point because this will clear it up. Whenever you get black people together, assembled, you got all kinds of police presence. White folks get nervous. So if black folks say, okay, we're gonna plan a march. Mm-hmm. You gonna have police on extra shifts.
National Guard.
They gonna have riot gear on. They gonna have the fucking smoke bombs ready because they expect some shit to pop off. If you get black people together just to do a sit-in or anything that uplifts black people, it's always going to be an issue. You're going to be Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's a terrorist group. Oh, you got to watch how it's the
Black Panthers.
Anything black people do to try to empower each other, Black Panthers took that whole thing down. They had the FBI
Destroyed
involved.
the Black Messiah.
Right, just went in and demonized it, had white folks scared of them, had black folks feeling some type of way. So you got all of these things that when black people get together, that it's an issue for white folks. So why is it that on Sunday morning when you can have hundreds of thousands of people, black people only in a church, white people ain't worried about it?
And there's no police.
So you mean 4 black dudes can walk down the street and potentially get 10 warning shots in their fucking back, but when you got 10,000 black people assembled in one place under one voice, you ain't worried?
On the same day.
Of course not.
At the same time, and not one white person there to vouch for what happened, but you cool with that. That means that we are carrying the message that they gave to us. We are carrying on the agenda. We have adapted it and taken hold of it, owned it, possessed it, and eat and breathe and just
Live it.
And profess to it, fight and die for it. I mean, just really feeling like this, we have so much ownership of something that was only designed to destroy you, that was only designed to conform you, to shut you up. Because if you did anything else, you were bad. Just like the message to kids. If you're talking too much, oh, this is a problem child.
Right.
You got to put this child in the corner. They talking too much. They too busy. They won't sit still. They won't stay on task.
So Xavier said, and this ties into what you're saying. This is good stuff. She said a lot of times that conformity is attached to fear. That's what really all of this is. As children, we get told that if we do wrong, we're going to hell.
Right.
So we take that and internalize it and conform to all of the ways of the church. Now, I watched a movie on Netflix. Y'all got to check it out. It's called Come Sunday. And it's based on a story about a bishop named Carlton Pearson. And y'all, he was one of them pastors that was like, oh, you going to hell if you do this, that, and the other, you going to hell. Like, his message was, okay, I gotta save you so that you won't go to hell. It wasn't really to enhance your life in any way. It was really just to keep you in fear, like you guys said. So he saw a video of like children in Africa or something that were starving. It was like one of those little late night commercials that come on, and he watched the commercial and he had a breakdown, and he was like, God, so you mean to tell me these people going to hell too? They're not Christians. They don't have any type of religion attached to them. So you mean to tell me they going to hell too? Just because they don't know the word? Yeah. And he said that God spoke to him and said no. So he went to church that following Sunday, y'all. He told his congregation there is no such thing as hell. When I tell y'all, his congregation was looking like, what? What's wrong with you?
Literally all hell broke loose.
All hell broke loose. He went from having a church of 6,000 people to his, like, losing his church. So just because he told the people that there's no such thing as hell, and he had realized that this whole time he had been preaching to people, it was like fear-based preaching. You telling me not to do XYZ because I'm going to go to hell. And I feel like a lot of people are waiting to die to really, really experience life. Everybody's so uptight and so scared to do stuff because they feel like, oh, I'm going to hell.
But they don't have to be.
Right. Or if something bad happens to you, you blame it on, like, I remember my son passed away 3 years ago from cancer, and I had people telling me, oh, it's because y'all don't go to church, or it's because y'all don't believe in this, that, and the third.
And that's crazy. And these are church folks.
Right. But my son completed his mission on earth. Like, he completed his mission in just 2 years. That's how I looked at it. I didn't look at it as that was something bad that happened to me, or it was a curse, or it was because God don't love, or whatever, like all the crazy stuff people were saying. But all of this is really fear-based, like you said, Xavier. She said something else.
We are definitely carrying the message they gave us. This is what kept us enslaved.
And even now.
Absolutely.
So what do you, and Xavier Johnson.
Hey, Xavier.
So there's a lot of passages in the Bible. I'm not a fan of the Bible. Now I'm not saying I'm like, I hate it, but it's some passages I was like, oh, okay, that's straight. But when I got to reading it, I look at stuff too. Like, I overanalyze stuff. So when I read stuff in the Bible, I be like, wait a minute, but you just say it. But right here it say, and I just be like, oh, okay.
I'm going to raise my hand because I got something to say. My thing is, anything made by man or written by man has error in it. And then you have to look at the people that wrote it. These are the same people that stole everything from Africa. Like, how can I trust you with writing something that my God did if you stole everything from the original people on this earth?
And how did God write the Bible? God ain't even a human.
And y'all ain't never seen God to know what he said or did.
Ain't even know that. Well, first of all, speaking of stolen, the Old Testament was completely stolen. It's taken from the Torah, and the Torah is the Jewish Bible. So it started because everybody was Jew. Jesus was a Jew, okay? So the Torah is the whole Old Testament, and not only did they take the Torah, but then they reordered the books. So I actually did a biblical studies class, and we read it in the order that it was written. So you can purchase certain Bibles that show you the order that it was written. It gives you the Hebrew translation of words, so you kind of understand it a little bit better. But even in that part itself was stolen. But so much so that the same story is repeated throughout the book, and it's changed. Mm-hmm. So you got in one part of the Bible, when David decided he wanted to marry Bathsheba, it says that he raped her. He raped her, and then when her husband was one of his generals, sent the general out to battle, ordered the other. Well, first he tried to get the general to sleep with his wife because he had raped the man's wife while he was gone.
Oh, they got some shady stuff going on.
Yes, ma'am. So
shady boo.
He
raping somebody.
They said that David looked through her window, saw her taking a shower, decided he wanted her for himself. Her husband was gone away at battle. Her husband came back to give a report. Told the husband, hey, you need to go see your wife, see about your wife. He said, nope, I ain't got time for that. He was like, man, go get you some of that real quick. No, because he got her pregnant. So he wanted her husband to sleep with him so that he would believe that the baby was his.
Wow.
So when he
What
went
in the God of light is
Hold
going on here?
Hold on. So then, when he
What is
wouldn't
the
sleep
DNA test?
with his wife, what he did was he ordered the troops that when they moved forward on the enemy, that they wanted everybody else to fall back while he was going forward, so that he would be on the front line and he would get killed.
Wow.
So that he would never know what happened.
That's real Christian.
Now that's the way the story is told in one part of the Bible. That same story is told again, but it's not told in the same way. It's told that he saw her and he married her. So they left out the rape in the Christian version. So people don't, and I didn't know this until I did the biblical studies class, that what we read is a Christian Bible, which is different from
what actually happened.
like, and you got to remember who King James was. Everybody swear by King James. King James was racist. He had people murdered. I mean, there's too many instances where people don't know. People don't know, and then people talk about the KKK.
Julian.
Because the KKK will be the first to tell you they're a Christian organization. Black folks, hell nah. Jesus ain't got shit to do with that. Think again. So when I say think, I just want you to think. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Yeah, think. Okay,
So what we're not saying that we didn't worship God in Africa. We're saying that Christianity did not originate in Africa.
Christianity was made up.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of what else. What else? So it's just so many stories that.
But he said he thinks the Bible is a brainwashing tool.
It
You said,
absolutely.
Julian, hi Julian. Our ancient people in Africa worship the essence of God as a provider to man: sun, moon, stars, trees, water, the resources. Right? I think
That's
the Bible
right.
is a brainwashing tool as well.
That's
so
right.
many hidden books of the Bible in the
You're right. It's books that people haven't even
Oh,
bought
wow.
up that are like dismissed. Like that book you gave me about pregnancy and birth.
Oh right.
They was like,
right.
this is a missing tablet from
Yeah.
the Bible.
Mhm.
The thing, so you had somebody who talked about it being a brainwashing tool. It absolutely is, and they talked about what our ancestors believed in and what they use the word worship. I know why we're using that word, but I can't think of a word that I would rather use, so I'm just going to go with that one right now. But it's the same thing. I also studied Native American spirituality. Native American spirituality is not a religion, nor was what Africans in Africa were a part of. They believe that this greater being is sustaining us, is supplying us. They looked at the grass and think, the grass is here, is feeding the buffalo, and this is what's helping to sustain us. So we need to show respect to the grass. We need to show respect to the earth. We need to show respect to the buffalo. We need to show respect to these things because we're interdependent. I need them, they need me, or better, more so, they don't need me, but I need them.
Right.
So let me make sure that I'm being respectful to the land. I'm being respectful. I honor the sky because the sky was what they used to navigate, to know where they were going.
Right.
The daylight gave them, ample time to work and do what they need to do and hunt and gather. So they looked at everything with an appreciation. And when they went and stole us from Africa, they were like, oh, they're over there worshiping trees. No, the fuck they weren't.
No.
They had respect for everything around them, and they didn't feel like their ability to destroy it made them kings or dominant over the land. It made them feel
you just
like
said a word just now.
you
just said a
We
word.
recording, girl.
No, not the word of the day. I'm talking about
word.
you just said
Word.
what you just said. Their ability to not be able to dominate.
Knowing that you have power to destroy someone and not using it is what makes you powerful.
Absolutely.
Like that.
You just said a word right there,
That's
girl.
where your power is. It's not. I mean, you can go out here and kick
That's good
a cat
stuff.
across the street. Like that doesn't make you powerful because you
Right.
did that. What makes
Right.
you powerful is knowing that you have the ability to save a life rather than take one.
Right.
So that's what Africans subscribe to and believe in, and that's what Native Americans. So that's what every group of people has done, whether they were Aborigines, where any indigenous people always knew that they were dependent and they were grateful for everything that was around them. Only when the colonizers came that they decide, hey, these are some peaceful people. Let's take them out.
Right, let's be savages. That's
We
their
savage.
no, that's their nature. Like,
Absolutely.
with our stuff, what we did prior to them being the colonizers and coming out the Caucasus Mountain and being little savages and shooting off noses and doing what they were doing, we focused more on the inner God. We knew there was a higher power. We knew there was a God, but being reflections of that, we focused on the inner God.
We knew we had a responsibility to it. We didn't take it for granted. We didn't look at the earth and think, okay, well let's do what we want to it. Let's just take every animal.
Tear it up.
Let's just but in contrast to all of the regulations that are being rolled back during this current administration, and we don't need to protect certain lands, and we don't need to preserve certain animals because they feel like they don't need them. I don't need them. That's showing a weakness, and that same weakness has gotten them where they are because they preyed on other people's
Everything.
kindness or gentleness or self-reflection because they knew that we weren't thinking like they were.
Right.
And that's how people, you think about criminals, when you hear these cop shows and they say to catch a thief, you have to think like one, or to catch a criminal, you have to think like one. But if you're not thinking like one, you'll never catch them. And that's how we got so far behind in this game. And that's why, even though Omarosa is definitely not coming back on the Black Council,
banned.
She cannot come back. We traded her and we done.
I don't know who we traded her for, but we done.
I don't know.
Somebody said she can come to the
her-
Black Cookouts, but she got to be responsible for taking all the elders home so the cousins
And
can
she
turn
got to
out.
wash dishes.
Yeah, she got to wash dishes.
She can't even come.
I don't even know what's going on with her. I don't even.
No, because
I don't
she
even
been
know what's going
hiding.
on.
No, she can't come back.
That's another episode, though.
We're still watching, but just watching how she's basically taking that same thing she learned from them and turning it back on them. And so this is going to be interesting to watch. But I wanted to talk about something because you had talked about tithes and how, when your family was in need, that was a place that you looked for help because that was basically some place that you made your family. That's some place that you connected with and that you expected to be there for you. And I had a similar situation like that growing up with my dad. And I remember my dad was always a big tither. Like he was the one the pastor would call up, hey, Mr. Watson, tell him about tithing. And he just was, and the more you get, the more you receive, pressed down, shake together, run over, all of that. And then when he went through a time with his business, it was just a rough time in the economy, and he didn't have the business. He was always self-employed, and it became a thing. Like you got to make this appointment, you got to go talk to this person, you got to go talk to that person.
Going through a whole bunch of people.
Nobody do all that talking when he gave you the money, but we got to do all this talk. Okay, all right, cool. So let me tell you first of all how the churches are ripping off the Black community. Now, so y'all ready? Y'all ain't gonna kick me out.
No. Like these are all open discussion and opinions.
I'm gonna tell you how the Black church is ripping off the community. Now, there's some things that are strictly my opinion and that could strictly be wrong, and I am totally open to being wrong because that means I have opportunity to learn something. But this is one of the things that's just straight facts. So without giving you my opinion of it, let me just give you some straight facts. We all know that churches are tax exempt. They are tax exempt because the government says these are institutions designed to help the community.
Separation of church and state.
Right. So these entities, they're here to help the community. And if you're here to help the community,
we're not going to tax you.
We're not going to tax you. We're going to allow you to use that money to go back into the communities that you serve. So that's one fact. Another fact is, in Black communities, there are numerous churches. Everybody talk about it's a liquor store on every corner. No, there's a church on every corner in a Black neighborhood.
It'd be like 2 or 3 of them on the same corner.
We got one in Halifax, 2 across from each other.
Listen, where I used to live, when my kids were growing up, I kid you not, there were no less than 8 churches in walking distance in the same I mean, it was crazy. And then these big churches. Like, so I know you ain't calling no names, but I'm going to call some names.
Ooh.
So,
Name drop.
Call them out.
because right now I'm just doing fact. I'm not doing opinion. So where I used to live, University Park is a huge mega church in Charlotte. Friendship Missionary Baptist Church is
I've heard
huge. And now they do some good work. Now I have definitely, I can say that I have seen some things that they did for the community that I admire. But I'm not getting into my opinion of the churches. I'm just saying these are some large churches. That's my point in bringing them up. So if you're in the area, you'll know these are huge churches. So you've got those two churches on the same street. Then you got the mega church for the House of Prayer that's a little bit further down. And then there's like scattered, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 other churches in between. So it looks great. Didn't change the crime rate, but it looks great. So then here's the thing with that. Here's another fact. So now if you think about schools, the money that goes into schools comes from taxes in that community. So that is how you can live in a poor neighborhood and the schools suffer and don't have the resources that they need, don't have, proper equipment, whether it's, computers or, just random school supplies. All of those things come from the property taxes in that neighborhood. So if you've got a neighborhood that is lower income, it means your property taxes are going to be lower, which means there's going to be less money going in. But then you have these large churches and then ones scattered in between that are tax exempt. So that means they're not paying into the communities that they're in, and they are not really completely serving these communities. They're serving their church community. They're serving the people that are in that church from time to time. If they, like in her situation or like in my situation growing up, you go to the church and then you got to plead your case, and then you're going to be looked at like you did something wrong because you asked for help.
Right.
So if this is a church I'm paying into and this is what I'm getting back, but this is the community that the church is in and they're not giving anything back as far as the property taxes that go to schools, that go to the police force. You wonder why ain't no police. That all they need to know is that your black ass is over there. They don't need to know nothing. Is your black ass where you supposed to be? Okay, cool. So with those being the facts that churches don't pay taxes, that there's tons of black churches in black neighborhoods,
But they're still ghettos.
and because they're not paying taxes. So my thing is, if you want to go to the White House, if you want to go and sit up there and get your palms greased and get whatever you want for personal gain, pay some fucking taxes. I don't care about you going to the White House. You can go up there and hang out with Mickey Mouse if you want to.
Shake hands,
But
kiss ass,
don't tax me for it.
Right.
And that's what's happening. So people are looking at all these business tax breaks, but see, the church is the biggest tax break ever. And with I don't know how many churches are in America, but I'm gonna be on the conservative side.
I'm gonna Google it
While she's googling it, I'm just gonna be on the conservative side and say 5,000 in the country. Now that's very, very conservative. Very, very conservative.
It's more than that.
5,000 in
a
Charlotte.
state.
But listen,
In a state.
but even with that very conservative number,
Imagine how much they make every Sunday, and it's tax free.
tax-free.
All that money spent in church could be rebuilding some of these communities that are low income communities or poverty communities. Like, this is billions of dollars.
I'd rather you pay taxes than give me a meal after Sunday of that greasy ass fried chicken that Shirley.
So there are 37
Not
million churches.
How many?
37 million.
37 million.
tax.
Even if you had $1
Right.
for each church, that would still
Filthy rich.
supply. I mean, our neighborhoods, our black neighborhoods, our poor black neighborhoods
Suffering.
could be so fucking rich if the churches in those neighborhoods just paid taxes.
Do y'all remember that
getting back.
episode of Good Times when JJ painted a picture of
Black
Black Jesus? And Florida
And
Evans
she had
was
it.
like, "No, this is the only Jesus that I know," and
I
it was like
remember that.
a picture of white Jesus.
Yep,
She was
they
like,
battled
no.
over it. Yes.
This is the only
Yes.
Jesus.
Since we're talking about white Jesus, let's talk about the propaganda effect that has on us. Like, seeing this white man that's quote unquote his real name is Caesar, by the way.
Yes,
Caesar Borgia or something,
Something like that.
Yeah.
White Jesus.
It was it was an old Pope's son that he had. Was it Michelangelo draw? I don't know if it's Michelangelo. Don't quote me on that. But he had an artist to create this image
Propaganda
of Jesus. Well, see, that goes back into our history because there was a Reformation period.
Yeah.
The Reformation period was about bringing people back to the church, and they used art to do that. They commissioned a lot of the paintings, a lot of the statues that Michelangelo did were commissioned by the church.
Yeah.
And that art during that period was called the Bible for the illiterate. So what they did was they told these artists, what do I want them to think? What do I want them to think? And they put it, because art does invoke emotion. So they used the very simple images to create a story and a feeling and a connection and a commitment with these people.
What did the media do to black people?
Demonized.
They criminalize us.
I don't care how we get killed or who kills us. What's the first thing they do? They post a mug shot. They post you smoking weed.
Shot today.
They post you with a gun.
Yeah.
Demonized.
They got my baby Trayvon for putting up his middle finger. Like, really?
Who didn't have a putting up their middle finger?
Right.
I had a phase like this of pictures.
Like it's a finger, not a gun.
But I'm not. That doesn't make me a thug or a criminal for thinking that way.
But see, and it even it was a young lady who got killed. They put up a picture of like something they found on Facebook that was supposed to be make her look like she was like a bad guy. And the guy that killed her,
the dude that slit the girl neck.
Yes,
they posted her with a gun.
Yeah.
Why? What does that even have
I got a right to carry. So you mean I can't take a picture with the gun that I purchased and have a right to carry?
It's that image.
So they wanted that image out there. But then when we say, okay, so and so is a racist, Donald Trump is a racist. Oh no, I wouldn't say that. No, don't say that.
Like the dude that sit beside you at work. If it's racist, that's a bad. No, it is racism. Call it what it is.
Yeah.
Y'all like labels so much. Let me label this as racist.
But they like labels when it comes to us,
but not to
everybody else. Because who labels the labeler? Like whose job is it to label the label?
Oppressor.
If you come up with all the labels and somebody else says, "Hey, I got a label," that's not a label.
No, that's not right.
I didn't make up that. Where'd that come from? No, that's not in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It make you, like, this type of stuff make you think, like, it's like everything that you grew up thinking or believing. It's like once you get older, you realize, damn, this was a lie. Was this a lie? So how do you? So we've given them all of this information as far as our opinions and stuff. How do you like moving forward? Like for me, I'm like learning all of this stuff now, and I've been on my journey for like 5 years now, just like really researching and reading stuff for about 5 or 6 years now. Yeah. So me personally, I've cultivated my own spirituality. I wouldn't even call it a religion. It's just I do a lot of gratitude thoughts, like thank you for, like how you said we used to do, like thank you for this, thank you for these experiences. I have a connection with my son who has gone on to the other side. I have a connection to my ancestors. I talk to my ancestors a lot, but I just want to ask y'all, especially you, Regina, what do you think, like moving forward, for the people who are in that stage of, oh my God, maybe this is a lie, or maybe we have been bamboozled? What do they do moving forward to ensure like their spirituality or their connection to whatever it is that they believe in? How do they cultivate that, or how do they what's the word I'm looking for? How do they renew that, or
renew the truth? Yeah,
how do they build a new truth for themselves outside of what their parents put on them?
Here's the thing with that,
or grandparents, or
and I know that is so difficult because we are creatures of habit. Human beings are naturally pack animals,
and you want to be accepted by your friends and family and people around you.
We are communal creatures, and those connections, and that's why people go so hard for. I'm gonna give this example. I'm not gonna say the name of it, but I'm a member of a historically black sorority, and I meet people all the time that are like, oh my God, I've always wanted to be a oh my God, that's like growing up, I always wanted to be. And I'm looking at them like, that's what you aspire to? Like, not saying, no, it's a wonderful. I love it. You tell you that, love it.
All day.
But I also know that this is an organization, not a living, breathing person. And in order for it to be great, it takes me, not the other way around. Because it's without anybody in it, it's just letters.
Right.
It's just, I mean, organizations come and go all the time. There's organizations that were booming at one point in time, and people don't know who they are today.
Right.
Enron.
Exactly. Enron. So I mean, so all of these things are meant to bring us together, but when you come to something needing more out of it than you can put into it, then it controls you. And it takes away, you have to take on the personification of it in order to have an existence. And I think that is very sad. And I always tell people, like, new people coming into whatever organization they're going into, is understand why you're here. Make sure that you know that you are an asset and not the other way around.
Right.
Because if you wasn't shit before it, you ain't shit now.
Hello.
So nothing should make you who you are. But we've been conditioned through institutional education, through religion, that you are nothing. You are nothing.
Wow.
And because you are nothing, you need something to make you
depend on.
someone.
Yeah.
And you need something, people like say, oh, I just need something bigger than myself. Make yourself bigger than what you were.
Yeah.
And take that bigness and serve in that manner. Serve in that capacity with all that you are, rather than groveling to it, hoping to be accepted and being willing to do whatever it takes, whether it's good for you or the people around you. And that's what the hell is going on with this administration. I hate to keep going back to that. But when you look at these people who know he wrong, they know he wrong, they know this man is crazy, but they're so afraid of losing their standing, losing their position,
Do it again, Xavier.
using whatever. So they're going to go along with it. So no matter what type of damage it does, and that's what we've done as Black people, we've gone along with it no matter what type of damage it's done. When we look at Jim Crow, you got Black people, you got your house niggas, like to, they still around. Worker one. But
that is that is Thomas Clarence. He's all of them.
So
he the shotgun holder, the shot dude that was running on life. That's
boss,
him.
he ain't working. She ain't working, boss.
That's him.
It's a gun line. We call this here the gun line. But when you think about how people have been so conditioned not to think, and they've been told you're no good, and even their songs, Christian songs that talk about no one's good, no, not one. We're just taught that everything about us is bad, and the only thing potentially good is if we take on a personification of someone else.
Because why would you have to be born again? If I was already born and I'm whole when I'm born, like I'm authentic, I'm myself, I'm whole when I'm born, why do they use the word, you have to be saved or you have to be born again? God. Yeah. So, well, if that's the case, my mom is God. That's who I came from.
Let's break down born again.
We're
gonna break that down, because I never thought about that until you just said that. So
right, why do you say I have to be born again? When I was born, I was perfect then.
Well, the question is not why they say it, it's why the fuck are we comfortable with it? That's the real damn question. Because when you think about born again, what does that mean to be born again? Okay, so what it means to me is, okay, you put away all what is it?
Put away all your
put away all your old ways, and behold, you will become new.
That ain't true.
You'll become a new creature. So let's think about what is a new creature in the scheme of just history of what's happening.
A new creature is something that comes out again.
Well, a new creature is something that has no identity before you give it one. And that has no presence or no existence until it's given to you. You can't be born unless somebody gives life to you. So you're going to give me a life. You're going to give me something that is totally different from what I had before. Kind of like colonization. Kind of like what happened with the Native Americans when they came over.
They came like measles, though.
Like they came over, they straight fuck? I mean, they off the boat. You fucking with people straight off the boat.
Like you ain't giving no time.
Like, I ain't never walked in no room and felt like I need to take everybody out as soon as I got there. Like, god damn.
Well, I mean, they shot off the damn pyramid nose. So what do you expect from these people?
No manners.
But still, like you think about it. You have to not exist prior in order to be born
Again.
So you're going to take what hurt me to my heart. And I was talking to Jovina about this the other day when I was well, not the other day, but maybe a week or so ago, when I was talking about adding to a tattoo. And I was like, okay, well, my name means queen. And I was like, well, let me find, I found out, I'm black. And so I was like, okay, let me find out what the native language is for where my ancestry comes from. And I want to find a translation for queen in that language and put it on to add it to the tattoo, because that'll just bring together who I am and where I'm from in one name. And it'll be so personal that people will have to ask me. It's not something that they'll be able, it's not a label that they will be able to assume the ingredients. They will have to ask.
Yes.
So I'm going through and I'm like, okay, Ghana. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters from the motherland. But, I was like, okay, let me go and look. And I'm looking and I'm Googling what is the native language. This shit said English. I was like, god damn. Got them too. Crackers them got them too. Like, shit.
That's just like with the Bible. Like,
the native language in Ghana is
not the native, the national language, the recognized language for Ghana.
Colonization
is English, because they came in, they took, and it's the same thing. Like when you see Mexicans, when you see people in Brazil, well not Brazil, Argentina, other Spanish dark skinned people that speak Spanish, those people were colonized. Because if you go to Spain, the motherfuckers is white.
Yeah.
Okay, they are white, blonde hair, blue eyed, white.
So that make you think, okay, well, which boat ride did you get off on? And
you really got to start asking people that. Like, which boat? Which boat
was you on?
Which boat was your people on?
Which one of them raped y'all? Oh, Spain raped y'all.
Right.
Just thinking about that trauma.
No, Spain had some too, because Spain was Florida. Spain colonized Florida. They did California. It's a few other places. Then you got the French with Louisiana,
right? And
with all these places. And it's funny with the Louisiana purchase. You done purchased some shit from somebody that stole it from somebody else,
right? And then y'all be telling people to go back to where they came from. Well, take your ass back to Britain and France and Spain.
But these are the people who, with all of their atrocities, when you think about on a $20 bill, you've got Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson destroyed so many Native Americans, like to the point that most Native Americans won't even carry a 20, because they're like, nah, fuck that.
We don't want nothing to do with this.
Fuck that nigga. Give me 2 tens. Give me 2 tens. Fuck that nigga. Because of all that he did. Look up the Trail of Tears. Again, don't listen to me. Don't take my word for anything. Like, look this shit up yourself. Learn to think. And one of the things that I can say that helped me, and I'm going to go out on a limb because I don't know you very well and say that this is probably something that we share, is when you've had real shit happen in your life.
Yeah.
When you've had some real shit happen in your life, you have to think.
Yeah.
There's no stock answer. Right. There's no stock answer for that shit. Like, absolutely. Just like when you ask somebody, you're like, oh, I'm having a bad day. Oh, just pray about it. Those little answers don't work.
It's not
when you're going through some real shit.
Yeah, I got chills.
I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine losing a child. I could not even imagine, and my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
For you to have any amount of sanity, I know I wouldn't. I mean, I would probably be somewhere just gone. Like I could. That's the worst thing imaginable.
A parent having to bury their child.
I could not. I couldn't even imagine it. But when you go through something like that, you got to find something that somebody ain't gave you.
Yeah.
You got to find something.
You have to create it.
You have to
create it.
It's not that you're creating it, it's that you're finding it because nobody else has been there.
Right.
There may be some other parents that have been there, but everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
And if you lose a child through, some people I've known that I work with some people that have lost children through violence. And it's like, what do you say? Like, there's, you can't give somebody that's really been through some shit anything.
Right.
You have to let them tell you what they need, and they've got to find it out. And when you're put in a position where now you have to think that you've already broken some of those chains, because now you have to think, and you're in a position where anything that comes your way, you know that you can do it. You know that you can think. It may be hard. You may not know if you're gonna get through it.
Right.
But you've been there before. That's a course that's been charted, and it was charted by you on your terms. But most people don't have those experiences because they're just going through this matrix.
Yeah.
And
That's what it is.
It's exactly like the first time I saw where somebody had posted The Matrix was a documentary.
I need to
like,
watch that movie.
Like, you go back and watch that shit
I need
now.
to watch that movie. I've never seen it before, but I understand the concept of the Matrix.
But see, you would probably see it the way I see it, because, and you would too, your little militant ass. But the way I look at it is like, damn, like, how do we know? And how do you know anything is what you've been told that it was?
Right.
Unless you do research, and that's going back to what you said. How do you get back to the truth? Research. Read.
Because what is the truth? Like, what is the truth?
Right.
Do you go off somebody else's truth, or do you just create your own? Me, I'm at the point where I'm like, everybody lying. Everybody telling a lie to me. I'm about to just create my own and do what feels right to me. And so, like y'all said, I guess it's just getting back to creating. Well, not creating, but just forming something on your own and going with it. And we ain't throwing no shade. If you are Christian or whatever, that's fine. But some people are Christians and they got that settling feeling in their heart like something ain't right. We talking to y'all, the ones that know, like, okay, something ain't right, something don't feel right. I done been bamboozled, whatever.
Swindle.
Just start doing research and seeing where this stuff is coming from.
And let me say this: like, people get all caught up in, being a Christian is about being a better person, about being okay. So
we've already said the KKK said they Christians.
They are, and I'm gonna tell you why they are. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna challenge you to think about this shit. Now, there is a book in the Bible, the book of Ezra. It's the shortest book in the Bible. You can sit down, read it for yourself. Go through Ezra. Ezra depicts an ethnic cleansing. Ezra is a book that, in the book of Ezra, what happened was this group of people, God's chosen people. So before I go into, let's talk about chosen. Now, if God is not a respecter of persons, if we are all the same and he sees us all the same, fuck, you got chosen people. And why them chosen people don't look like you? And why black people be so quick to say, oh, I'm a partaker? You're not a partaker. That shit wasn't built for you. None of that shit was for you. You were not the hero. You were the enemy. Remember Egypt? Remember Pharaoh? The evil one? The one that
the black one?
The black one? Think about that shit. Oh yeah, they Christians. The book of Ezra is a ethnic cleansing. And the ethnic cleansing, what happened was, and this story is going to sound real familiar, but God tells them that this land that these other people are on was yours some generations ago. It's time for you to go and take it back.
Sounds like North America.
Okay, so he tells them, go take it back. So when they go and take it back, there are people there. So they know that amongst these people, they got to figure out a way to take this place back. So what they do is they go in. Everybody who was not...
Xavier, I swear this thing do not like you.
What's happening?
She's trying to join our
join.
live.
Okay.
Let her join.
But what happened was when God's people went into this land to take it back, because somebody told them that God said that this was really supposed to be yours, they go in and take it back. And while they're taking it back, they tell the people that are living there, if you are not the same race as me, then you need to leave. If you were of that faith and you decided that you wanted to stay and you were married to somebody who was not of the same race, then you and them and your kids had to leave. So the only people that were allowed to stay there were the people that looked like and believed like the chosen ones. They even went there, tore down all of their temples to their gods and said, this ain't gonna work. Now we're gonna tear these down, but we're gonna need some help building some new ones. So y'all can stay long enough to help us build these new ones. But after that, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the fuck out of here.
All right, so we're gonna start the wrap right here for the podcast SoundCloud recording, but we can stay on live to further discuss this. So basically, again, our topic was the Bible, the church, pastors, and the Black community. We did dabble in a little bit of other things as well. But again, just stay focused, do your research. You got questions, ask questions. If anybody tell you don't question what you're reading,
they got something to hide.
They got something to hide. They don't want you to know something. So don't go off of their logic.
Hell, don't even go off of ours. Do your own research.
Just do your research and see how far back stuff start looking confused.
And tap in too, like tap inward, because you really got most of the. Well, I'm not gonna say most of the answers, but you know what you know. Like you know what you know, and it's already in here, and we strayed away from that. Yeah. But you got to get back to that
and stop letting somebody else determine what right and wrong is. Right. Because slavery was legal, but this shit wasn't right. Like just because something is acceptable doesn't mean that it's right. Right and wrong is about what works for you and what doesn't, not what works for somebody else in dealing with you.
Amen. Nice. Amen.
So just focus internally. And guys, this is the More About Something podcast.
Thank you for tuning in.
You can catch us live on Thursdays. You can follow me at Tashi Shakur on Facebook. Neva Branch on
N-E-V-A, like a tree branch.
Neva. And then mine is Tashi Shakur, like Tupac. You can follow us on Instagram. Mine is its_she. She everywhere. Neva is my path to peace 1.
You can catch me on cutyinthemiddle.com.
Hey. Yeah, so check us out on Saturdays, 11 to 12. If you want to catch us live, catch us on Facebook from 7 to 8.
And thank you to our guests, too. Thank you to our guest, Regina. She will be back.
And thank you, Xavier. Even though, you know, Facebook.
Thank all of you guys for your input.
Right. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Zay, we going to get you on the next one. Facebook was being a hater, but don't worry about it.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah. So thank you all for tuning in for our first episode. Yay! It's More About Something podcast.
Bam.